Hello, hello, good evening.
Peace, peace, peace.
Good evening, good evening.
Salutes, salutes.
Hello,
Racheal,
Jay, what's
salutes.
up? What's up? What's poppin'?
What's up, little
How you
sis? Little sister
doing?
made it. My little brother made it. This is how we
We
do it.
here,
What's
we
going
here.
on?
That's what I'm saying,
Yeah, let
man.
me,
For
let,
real. This is how we do it right here. This is beautiful.
yeah, man. So let me go ahead and introduce, man. This is 24/7 Hip Hop Radio. This is the independent music movement. I'm your host, OG Tech, aka the household name the streets love to hate. We got two special guests with us tonight. We have Jay Burton and we have Racheal here. It's an honor to have them both on this live right now. Um, One is an activist representing Canada. And my other brother here, my comrade, Jay Burton, is a brother that's been incarcerated since it was 16, 32 plus years. And we're trying to bring this brother home. We definitely wanted to get him on to tell his story, where we could talk about the Black Lives Matter prison chapter, where we could talk about the No Comrades Left Behind movement, et cetera, et cetera. And I just wanted to bring this on my platform because this story needs to be told, and we need to get more and more people behind this movement, for real, for real. So y'all can go ahead and introduce yourselves, starting with ladies first, Miss Racheal.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you,
Salute right there.
thank you for having
That's
me.
little sis right there.
Thank you for having me. It's all an honor. It's a pleasure to be sharing this space with you guys. So thank you. Yeah, as you mentioned, my name is Racheal. I'm a prison abolitionist. Really working to advocate for prisoners' rights. And really just speaking for those who don't have a voice. So I'm based out of Toronto, Canada. In my experiences, from personal experiences as well as family experiences as to what's driven me to have this passion and to be moving forward. And thankfully, I was able to work with organizations that are doing similar work and really just advocating for prisoners. And I was able to connect with Jay. And from there, it's just kind of been a process of really just getting Jay's story out there as well, and really just collaborating and working together to see that regardless of if you're in Canada or if you're in the States, it's still the
Right,
same shit regardless, right? So
right.
just seeing how we can make that
Yeah.
work and connect between the two. And yeah, I'm just happy to be here. So again, thank you. Blessings for having me.
Glad you're here. Glad you're here. All right.
That was a beautiful introduction from our little sis right there
Yeah.
in Canada. Just like her, I am also an activist as well. Now, I've been incarcerated going on 33 years now. And I've been down since I was 16 years old. I'm from Los Angeles, California. I'm also the founder of Black Lives Matter Prison Chapter, where I bring the Bloods and Crips together, Muslims, Christians, or whoever who's in opposition of anything. I bring them together, and we try to, show that we all share the same commonality, but we all have the same goal: is to liberate our people, whether it's mentally or physically. Right now, I know I'm mentally free, but I'm physically trapped.
Right.
So, and I'm also, the vice president of No Comrades Left Behind. I'm also the president of Saving Our Youth,
Right.
because, this has been my mission. I've been incarcerated going on, like I say, 33 years for a crime that I didn't commit. Yeah, I grew up as a Blood in West California. Yeah, I know that. So yes, if you say I'm guilty of anything, I don't even want to say I'm guilty of that, because that's, the community I came up in. And like most people, we all are part of something, whether people see it negative or positive, we are a part of something.
Right.
It just, when certain people start committing crimes, that's when the negativity come across of it. So, I have nothing bad to say about, my upbringing, but I have something bad about this so-called judicial system, because I'm about abolishing this system. People they talk about this reform. There's no such thing as a reform on something that's already built on something that's corrupt.
Right.
You cannot reform something that's correct. I mean, that's corrupt.
Right.
Which you got to abolish it and then rebuild.
Mm.
So everybody can come to the table. All race of people can come to the table and say, okay, this is what we want, because now we're going to start looking at it as an equal process, an equal thing that was brought together. See, back in 1989, I was arrested as a 60-year-old in Los Angeles, California for a burglary. It was a burglary. I was more so of a lookout, and you know, the lifestyle I lived when I grew up, I grew up around a bunch of drug dealers, big time drug dealers, and I was just one of the young guys that used to hang out with these guys. So, you know, I started having a lot of influence in my neighborhood at a young age, and with that came a lot of envy. So I see when they was building the case on me, there was a couple of guys that envied me. So when they was arrested, they started making this case against me. Not just me, it was other people, but I'm the one that basically they used as a scapegoat because I was the one that always kept my mouth shut on everything, right? But it's bad because, you know, it's been a ripple effect. Although that person lost his life, my mom's and my community lost a person. Right. So it's always a ripple effect in all the stuff that we get involved in. So we got to be careful what we do. So, you know, I have a little brother who was 3 years old when I came to jail. He's doing real big out there. He's doing real big things out there, right? But the reason why I bring that up is because my little brother, when my mother used to bring him to visit me, he didn't see no type of the person of what the streets was telling him. The streets told him I was this type of person. So he wanted to grow up and emulate that type of person, which I consider is negative now. But the streets, we got a thing of we always we give more props to the negativity, and we don't give no props to the positivity.
Right. Yep.
So my whole life, yes. So my whole life has been to reconstruct the way we think and see things, because the way we think and see things, we got it way twisted. So we got to untwist it and redo it. Right. Whether it's the judicial system or it's the culture of the gang lifestyle that we grew up in. Right. Yeah. Go ahead. Well, I'll tell y'all more, but go ahead. You want to jump on that? I was talking about that. Go ahead.
No, I was about to ask you, what has been your biggest struggle as far as, you know, you being locked up since 16? What has been your biggest struggle as far as courts and all that stuff?
You know, my biggest struggle has been accepting that I've been in prison. That has been the hardest thing of my whole stay. You know, I just did almost a decade in a solitary confinement because I became a threat mentally, not physically. We all could do stuff physically. We all can harm people physically, but when it comes to the mental thing, that's when you become a threat. So when I became that threat, they locked me up for almost a decade and tried to break me. They did everything in their power to break me. And so it's been hard to accept that I'm living this life within this construct, because, you know, it's like my next book, which is called God's Son Buried Alive. It's all about my prison state. And I mean that in a literal fashion. God's Son Buried Alive. I've been buried alive and I'm still breathing. So it's hard. It's really hard for you to breathe once that casket consumes all your air and there's no more air to breathe. So it becomes hard and it starts choking me. There's times that I couldn't even deal with this stuff, but I dealt with it. So you know, and dealing with these court systems. Here it is. They use one single fingerprint to convict me. My attorney not one time asked the DA for a copy of this fingerprint when he said this is a fingerprint on a photo negative. They didn't bring no picture. They bought a negative, one of them brown negatives from back in the days. And the DA and the corrupt Los Angeles Sheriff Department, they so corrupt. They got gangs out here. If you look them up on Google, you'll see the Linwood Vikings in Los Angeles, California. You'll see them the dudes that trap me. They've been caught up in all kind of little foul stuff, but especially back then. So when they said they had my fingerprint, my attorney, see, I was 16 years old. I had no idea what was going on. My attorney say yeah, I'm gonna say yeah. Say no. That's basically all I did in court was say yeah and say no when he said to say it. I had no idea what was going on. So after all these years, I've been trying to get this single fingerprint for years just to prove that that print don't belong to me. They said my fingerprint was on the gun. I know my fingerprint is not on that gun. And you know what? The reason why they could be deny me for 33 years now is because the print don't exist. But the only way I can prove it is them giving me the print. So that's what I'm saying. I'm about abolishing this system because it don't work for our people. It don't work. It don't work for everybody. It works for a small percentage of people, And them people, they all, you know, sometimes a lot of them got a little money to work with the system and make it work for them. Or they have a skin tone that makes it work for them, but it
I was
don't
about
work
to
for
say,
us.
right.
I am going to abolish this system. My story is going to be told no matter what. I've been telling my story. I am for the people who can't tell their stories. Even if I never make it out, I did so much in prison to make sure that I died today, my story is going to live on.
Right.
I didn't affect so many people throughout the years. My story going to always go live on. You might not hear from me, but you're going to hear from somebody else, or you're going to hear from them books that I'm putting out there, or you're going to hear from these little avenues that we utilize right now.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So, Racheal, tell me how it is out there. Well, first I want to know, how did you come across Jay Burton?
So Jay had reached out to our organization to again bring his story out there, and I love the fact he reached out to an organization that's not within the states. We're in Canada itself, because sometimes any individual with a limited mindset would say, well, they're in Canada, what can they do, right? But that's not Jay. Anybody who knows Jay and he's been able to speak with Jay knows that Jay's open to he goes all out, right?
All out, right? Yeah.
So when Jay reached out to us, Jay had shared his story with us, and we had also provided a platform similar to this where we were able to have him come on and tell his story in depth. And just that idea of being incarcerated for 30 plus years from the age of 16, going through the system, basically growing up in the system, and becoming a jailhouse lawyer, and helping other individuals that he's been with, and see them free, and he's still fighting for his freedom, and going through solitary confinement for almost 10 years, and like everything that's coming from it. The Canadian and American system are different in many capacities, but in other capacities they're also very, very similar. Right. And so from hearing that, it was like, okay, what do we do, or what can we do to push this forward? And I would say since October, I've seen a lot of people from Toronto specifically, a lot of various organizations, a lot of individuals that we work with who've been really pushing to move and to expedite really just sharing Jay's story. And there's been an influx of support from Canada with regards to Jay because of this. So that was sort of where my capacity came in terms of just really just trying to find ways in which how do we help to, one, share his story with others, and then two, what can we do on our ends here? How can we help? How can we assist? And I think Jay's now has a team of lawyers and advocates and individuals from Canada themselves that are here to assist and help in any way that we're able to. But it's really just being able to share your story. Are you able to hear me?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I can hear everybody.
Yeah.
But somebody said they couldn't hear. I think it was the Plus organization. They said they couldn't hear.
Yeah, I can hear.
See, brother Kid Gouda, my brother Kid Gouda. Hey, could y'all hear out there? Kid Gouda, that's my little bro right there. Kid Gutter, my bad. Kid Gutter, that's my little brother. Could y'all hear us? Let us know if y'all can hear us, because somebody said they couldn't hear us. Okay, Joseph said yes. Okay. Joseph said yes.
Before we go further, go ahead and tell everybody the name of the organization, Racheal.
Now Whisper said yes.
So I work for an organization called Keep 6. We're a non-profit organization based out of Toronto, and it was actually founded by somebody while he was incarcerated back in 2017. Whole idea behind Keep 6, used based on the street term of keeping 6, watching your back, right? Are keeping your 6 and watching your back, and that's sort of where we came in terms of being able to make 6 on those that are inside, and we're watching their backs too, right?
Watching their backs, right?
what we do is we work to provide support, wraparound support for individuals that are incarcerated currently, or individuals who are currently going through the judicial system. Because one of the things that was noted was that when we look at like Jay had mentioned, the system doesn't work for people that look like you and I.
Right.
Right. So when we look at and we compare how here the black, and indigenous and people of color are treated in comparison to their white counterparts, and we see the racial discrimination and the systemic racism that's so deeply rooted within the judicial system itself, a lot of people aren't aware of their rights, right? And that's similar to what Jay said as well. When he's 16, if his lawyer said yes, say yes, he's going to say
yes, right.
Right? He says say no, because you don't know anything else, right? And I think part of that too is as a community, we need to work on our literacy when it comes to the legal side of things. And that's an opportunity for us, because we're not aware of what our rights are, what the laws are, things along those lines. It's very easy for us to get caught up in that system. And so it's really for us to be able to provide a platform, one, to share stories like these, as well as bring awareness going on the outside. And then two, provide those levels of support, whether it's educational support, whether it's support for individuals that are reintegrating and that are recently being released and are transitioning from being incarcerated to now living in the current world. Because the other thing I found was there are individuals, I've got guys who've been locked up for 10 plus years, and they came out and it's a completely different world to them. They don't understand how things function and work for us. Something as simple as using your debit card at a machine is completely different to them now and compared to what it was like 10 years ago, right? So that whole transition period, and providing those different levels of supports, whether it's counseling, whether it's therapy, whatever it is that they need, that's what we do in terms of really just advocating for them as a whole. And that's doing for the last couple of years, and I've been grateful and blessed to be able to be on platforms such as this, to be able to kind of continue doing that work and sharing Jay's story as well, and meeting people like yourself, because it's a whole movement, right? And the best way that we can bring it forward is by just continuing to do the work. Right.
It goes back to they saying it takes a village, you know, and you got to have a strong support system out there. And you're absolutely right, because we have to learn these laws and we don't, you know, so we get pulled over or the police come up on us. We really don't know what our rights are, and we just kind of just go with the flow or whatever they tell us. So you're absolutely right. We have to educate ourselves, and not only ourselves, we got to educate our kids also as they come up into this world, so they'll be mentally ready, mind ready for everything when they get approached, you know, or if they have to go to court or get pulled over, et cetera, et cetera. So you're absolutely right on that. You know, that is true facts on that, you know. So, yeah, I like that. So, Brother Jay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, take the time to learn what your rights are, understand the laws. Like when I was going through school, I used to read the criminal code and people used to think I was crazy. But like really important, just understand and know what your rights are, and not just when you're outside, but even when you're inside. Because the laws out here on the outside are one thing, but then when you get in and you're in on the inside now, there's a whole different set of laws when it comes to institutional law, right? And like here in Canada, we've got what's called CSC, so Corrections Canada, and Corrections Canada has their own mandates, their own institutional laws that are completely different than what's out on the streets. So when people up, they don't know what their rights are when they're in on the inside, right? And so that's encourage everyone to know what your rights are out here. But if you are locked up, also make sure you know what your rights are inside. Ask them for a prisoner's handbook. Ask them for the CSC mandates, because legally they need to provide you with that. Not going to provide you with it unless you ask for it.
Big fact.
You know what? Let me. I got to piggyback off what Racheal was saying.
That makes sense.
Look, they do provide you this information. The information is everywhere, but the majority of us is not going to pick it up. We would have it sitting right in front of us for years and would never touch it. So, you know, we got to find a way to make it interesting to learn law.
Right.
Because if you don't know, the majority of us don't know our rights. That's why we end up in the situation that we're in. So just imagine the majority of us know our rights. We know that you can't just pull me over and then take me to jail for no apparent reason. We know you just can't pull me over for no apparent reason. Okay, officer, why is you arresting me? A lot of us are scared to say that. They're scared to ask, why is you arresting me? So the thing is, what she's saying is some real stuff. But the thing is, a lot of us, like a lot of guys, I've been in, like I said, I've been in prison for what, 33 years now. And most of us on these yards, they don't know nothing about when it comes to their rights. So that tells you that we got to start teaching them from a young age about law. Let's start making this stuff cool. Because, you know, nerds is not cool, but all the time, nerds is cool.
Right.
The gangsters, like when I grew up, they were the cool ones.
Right.
But they was a bunch of dummies. I was running under a bunch of dummies because they couldn't tell me nothing that would help me prepare for the future. But they could tell me everything when it came to that street stuff.
Right.
But when we get caught up, when we get caught up in the street stuff, what do we do from there? We don't even know. They don't even know. So they don't know how to tell you because they don't even know. So the thing is, you know, a lot of times I think if we start teaching the kids about our rights, first we got to teach our parents what our rights and what they mean, what is this stuff built on. But as we all know, we got to first abolish this whole system and renew it where everybody from all races come to the table so it can work for everybody.
Right.
Because it don't work for everybody.
Right.
We got to abolish this whole system.
Right.
Because, you know, you got some, then, you know, you'll get some Uncle Toms that is up there swapping down it works. Because you sitting up there with them, but you are a puppet. You are Uncle Tom, and I'm not trying to be in that seat that you're at. I'm trying to make it work for all of us. And the thing is, we got to abolish this system. I know I'm with the abolish movement from day one.
Right.
But the thing is, we got to show the people while we talking about abolishing the system that you've been accustomed to for 400 years. The reason why we saying abolish it because it don't work for everybody, it only work for you.
Right.
But you always saying that but y'all consider us equal, but you really don't. We got to create a system that works for all of us.
That's facts.
That's what abolishing is. It's not that we don't care about police. Yeah, police do help some of us, but when you're a pig and you work, well, I'm gonna say when you're a police and you see these pigs do something and you don't say nothing about what these pigs did, you're a pig too. So you're complacent in what they do. Right. So you are a pig. That's why I say, well, all police ain't pigs. Yes, they are. Because you're complacent in what he did because you didn't report what them pigs are doing to the people as a whole.
Yeah, right.
Because what they doing to the people as a whole, they messing up our community.
That's it. That's it.
They do everything in their power to convict us, even when they know you didn't have nothing to do with it. Or if you had something to do with it, it's so minute they'll still give you a Buck Rogers.
Yep, try to give you Max Simpson.
That's not good. Right. There's nothing good in there.
Right.
You got people who got major drug problems. Why don't you give them treatment? Treat these people. They don't send them to jail for 30, 40 years. You don't send people with mental health problems to prison because it don't fix them.
Right.
I've been on these prison. I've been running these prison yards since I was 18. When I was 16, I was in juvenile. Till I turned 18, they convicted me when I was 17. As soon as I turned 18, they sent me straight to the maximum security yards in California, and that's when it was cracking. And I would have to be on front line for a lot of things.
Right.
I done seen it all when it comes to them riots, some racial riots, people that try to stab me, I done try to stab others, the whole thing. I've been a part of all of it. Because I was frontline in this war, whether it was with the violence, but because that was part of survival, the violent part. Because if you weren't trying to survive, you were going to be a victim. Right. Especially when I came up in these prisons. And the thing is, you got a lot of us that's in there. Because when I became a jailhouse lawyer, that's when I started. Only reason why I became a jailhouse lawyer because I used to always go to the jailhouse lawyers and pay them what little money I had every month. I go to canteen or store and I spend whatever I spend. And this one dude, he used to watch me always give all my stuff to the jailhouse lawyers because I needed them to help me with my case. This dude said, look, get off the weight, pal. You give me 1 day, an hour a day off that weight, pal. I'm going to teach you the law. I'm not going to charge you like all these other dudes is charging you. I'm going to teach you the law. And you know what I did? I gave that man an hour a day until I learned the law. That was way back in 92. And when I learned the law, I did a so-called rival of mine in the streets. This dude is a so-called enemy. I did his case. You know what I did? I got that man life sentence off him. They sent him back to court and took the life sentence on him, and he did a couple more years. He went home. And it's supposed to be a rival of mine. Imagine that, me helping the so-called rival get back to the streets. Right. So when word got back to the yard that I helped the dude get out of prison, everybody started coming to me. But the thing is, that's when I started realizing, wait a minute, this was my calling to help people. That's why I'm put here. That's why after all these years, I'm not angry. Basically, I use this as my energy to help other people. I've been helping people. People can contest for this. I've been helping people for years. I've been giving my life to the front line to this stuff for years. They done locked me up for a decade trying to break me for years. I don't care because they're not going to break me. Right. There was times that I was like, I'm tired. But I knew I couldn't give up because those that look up to me, those that love me, those that care for me, those that rode me around the road, they used to write me like, I said, I can't. If I give up, these people, they got all this, you know, they believe in me. How is it that I'm going to give up? I don't even believe in myself, and I got these people believing me. But that kept me to go another day, just go another day. It didn't look like I was ever going to get out that's a solitary confinement. It just, I couldn't see it. And I'm like, I used to ask God, man, why me? Right. Why do I got to suffer so much? Because I'm not the only one suffering. My parents, them suffer, my kids. I have a daughter. She suffer. People that really care for me, my advocates, they suffer because of what I'm going through. And so I used to always ask, why is it that I'm going through so much? I could never figure that out. But I realized that I'm here for a reason. Right. I am the voice. I'm one of the voices. It's a few voices here, and it's not that many of us, but I know I am the voice, and I'm going to put it out there. I'm going to let it be known that it's foul behind these walls, and Bloods and Crips and people who are always going at it with each other. That shit is foul. Y'all need to get that shit up. Because I'm telling you, it's a bigger mission. We need to do stuff to start building for our kids to make sure that they right and they're set up for our future. Mm-hmm. Because our kids depend on us to lead them right. And when we can't teach our kids, you know who they're going to get it from? Same thing I did. I went to the streets. The streets do not discriminate. They will raise your kid for you. And it's up to you to figure out what you're going to do once the streets gives them. Because I'm telling you, the stuff that you're saying, when the streets are ready to snatch them up, nothing you're saying is going to make sense to them. Then they're going to end up in these prisons, walking these prison yards, and sitting there for 5, 10, 15, 20 years talking about, well, I'm waiting for my appeal to come through, then I might go home. Well, the way in California, within the last 5 years, things have changed. But the way in California, if you had a life sentence, whether you had life without or a regular life sentence, you was basically doing life without. You were sentenced to a slow death. And that's what I've been, sentenced to a slow death. But I realized my calling. My calling is to help the people. And I'm going to continue to help the people even if I don't ever make it out. I'm going to help the people that's just in me. That's why so much fire in me. They would never break me. I didn't realize that after I sat in that isolation unit for 9 years. I realized, okay, they didn't break me. Oh, they're never going to break me now. Because if I die today, I did my part.
Man, it's free Jay Bird to Jay Bird free, bro. You covered whole, bro.
I'm curious.
For real.
So, for the time that you were in solitary confinement, how did you manage your time? How were you able to keep your sanity and to keep that drive? Because that's not easy. I know people who've been in for 6 months, 9 months, and that can't do that.
Break them.
10, almost 10 years.
You're right. You're right. This right here, this came out of that solitary confinement. This is my memoir. But it got a different cover now. But this is my memoir, The Life and Times of an LA Blood, Shattered Mirror. And the reason why I called this Shattered Mirror is because when I looked at myself, like I could see a perfect reflection of myself in this mirror right here. But when it's shattered, I see an imperfect picture of myself. So I see the imperfections. So my life is so imperfected that I had to write about my life story. only had 16 years, really 15 and a half, but I had 16 years on the street of my whole entire life. Although it was 15 and a half because I did 5 months in the juvenile camp prior. So I had 16 years of my life outside of prison. And from 16 on up to 49, I've been incarcerated. So this one came out of isolation, this book, based on my life. But this only deals with the first 16, well, no, the first 17 years, because it talks about all the way, it talks all the way up until I went to prison. So this book right here, this is what I wrote when I was in solitary confinement. And the other book, which is called God's Son Buried Alive, that's where the story really starts. In God's Son Buried Alive, because it talks about my experience within this prison system. It talks about the stereotypes, the myths, and all that. Because I'd have been a part of everything that you could think about in prison. I'd have been a part of it. And the thing is this. So I had to talk about it. But there's certain things I couldn't touch on because, you know, because certain type of prison rules. But I had to talk on this so people could see from my own experience what this has been about. But I realized that I've been affecting so many people throughout these years, even in these prisons. Because a lot of people, they look at me, they be like, man, you still look young. But the thing is that spirit. It's that spirit within me that keeps me young, because it allowed me to not only speak to the older guys, but also speak to the younger guys. Because they see the younger guys will see me as one of them. So I can easily kick back with them and I can speak their language.
Right.
See, that's where we mess up at. When we can't speak them younger guys' language, they're not going to listen to us. But I can speak the language, so I can easily slide in and infiltrate with the youngsters and bring them up out of that gutter that they in, and let them see the real. Sometimes I have to even go as far as showing these dudes my paperwork. My paperwork showing, look, this is what I've been doing since I've been in prison. So there's nothing that you can't tell me about this prison stuff. I've been with, when you call gangster shit, I've been part of that gangster shit. I've been with the front line and shit. So here's the paperwork to show you. These police wrote this. I didn't write this. The police wrote this. This is what they said I did throughout these years. But my thing is, I don't need you to repeat what I've done. I had to do some of these things because it was about either it was my life or their life.
Right.
And it was way much harder back when I came to prison. I was very young. And then when I hit I remember when I was in Folsom State Prison back in 91. I was 18. I was about 6-7 months into my 18th year. A CO came up to me and said, "How old are you?" I couldn't look no more than 13, about 14, 15.
Right.
The lady came up to me. She was like, "How old are you?" She said, "Do your mother know where you at?" She was that concerned because I looked at that. I was literally the youngest man on the whole prison yard. And Old Folsom back in the day, that's when you think of prisons back in the day, you think of Old Folsom, San Quentin, think of Pelican. No, not Pelican Bay. That's before Pelican Bay came. But you think of prisons that was like the big name prisons in the state of California. And I walked them yards. But, you know, I was real naive when I hit them yards too. But it was because a lot of my older homeboys that was there, they wouldn't allow nothing to happen to me. But I had to save the dudes because I knew my homeboys had my back. But there was a lot of young dudes that hit the yard that didn't have homeboys like the kind of homeboys I had that didn't have their back. So a lot of them became victims.
Right.
So I was fortunate to have like gutter type homeboys that ran them yards that made sure that nothing happened to me. But when I realized that I had them kind of people, I had to utilize that to help those who didn't have them kind of homeboys to back them. So all this stuff was by design for me to get in the position that I'm in today. The position that I've been in for several years is a leadership role, but a leadership role that know how to play the back role as a follower as well as a leader. No matter what role I'm in, I know it's for the people, to benefit the people. I know when to step back and let somebody else push. Long as that person is for the greater good, I'm with it. That's why I said that Racheal would be good for this show as well because of what she's doing up there. When I read her bio and knowing that who she's connected to with the people that I'm connected to and knowing her bio, I said, man, she'd be a good addition to this.
Right.
Because we're not just hearing it from somebody in Canada, but we're hearing it from a woman, a woman's perspective. When you hear stuff about the movement, prison, and all that stuff, we usually hear from men. Now we got a woman from her perspective.
Real.
Feel me?
Right.
So go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, my question was, I know that you said that when you got in, you was talking about the Bloods, the Crips, you brought them together, and the Muslims and Christians. How hard was that to get that kind of unity across the yard like that?
Okay, first and foremost, only did that within the last year.
Right.
Like I explained, I got a lot of pull in prison. A lot of dudes respect.
Right.
Because a lot of dudes know what I've been a part of. And you know, one thing about prison, the negativity gets you ranked. No matter how the negativity gets you ranked in prison.
Right.
So that stuff was when in the younger year. But I also it's how I push. I push righteously.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't push with no corny typeness.
Right.
My push is not corny. My push is like real, we know that he'll get gangster if he want to go there, but we see that he's really out to help the people.
Right.
And then, but I got goons on my squad. I got some young goons out here that they'll tear some shit up in a minute.
Right.
But one thing I always explain to them is that we got to better the people. It's not about always committing violence. But when it's time, then you utilize that. But it's not that time.
Right.
We got to show the people that we are serious about building our people. We are up against it around the world, not in California, not in Tennessee, not in South Carolina, not in North Carolina, not in Atlanta. She's in Canada. They up against it there too. People in Africa, people in all around the world. Our people are up against it. People of color are up against it.
That's real.
And we got to come together. If we could do it in America and show that we came together, it'll start affecting the whole country. The whole world. Because they're going to say, wait a minute, they done came together.
Right.
And you know what it started? You being a good artist. You a hell of an artist. The music you put out, I listen to all your stuff, you're good, right? You're good in what you do.
Appreciate it, brother.
But we got to, I'm not using this to you, but we got to start peppering our music with some conscious stuff up in there as well. So so people start getting the idea that, wait a minute, it's not just about this craziness.
Right.
Because they tell you about the crazy, but they tell you the consequences of what the craziness brings.
Right.
So being that you are aware of what the craziness bring, now you have no excuse to repeat the craziness.
Right. That's real. So tell us a little bit about the Black Lives Matter prison chapter, man.
Well, the Black Lives Matter prison chapter came about when I seen people like Racheal. I seen women. Because she's the only woman on here. I seen women every time I see some protest going on, right, on TV, on the news about some police and killed another black man or whatever. I see women out there frontlining everything. I don't never see no man. I'm like, where's the man at? It's a lot of gangbangers out there. Y'all quick to kill each other.
Right.
But when it comes to the systems, assassinate one of y'all won't do nothing. The women going out there on the front lines and they picketing, or they trying to get new petitions signed. They trying to do so many things to help, to help our communities. There is no man that look like us that's out there that's frontlining this stuff. You might see one or two, but that's not enough. So I say, you know what? So I reached out to Black Lives Matter in LA, the founders. I reached out to the founders of Black Lives Matter, and they got back at me. And we started having meetings. And I explained to her, I said, look, we need a Black Lives Matter prison chapter. And what I want to do with that, I want to spread that worldwide, the Black Lives Matter prison chapter, so we can lace these dudes in prison and give them the information so when they get out there, so I don't have to look at the news no more and see only women out there frontlining the cause.
Right.
The women can be the voice. The women are the voice. Let the women be the voice. The men need to be the security. Our men need to stand up with this and be on some straight security so people can know you better not touch them women that's talking, because you got to go through us. Because here it is, like I say, I grew up in Watts, California, where it all started at. And the thing is this, we are quick to die for a hood that we have no property in. We have no interest in, nothing. But we quick to die for that, but we won't die for the women that have been putting their lives on the line from day one. Feel me?
I'll let you speak.
So that's
I'm gonna let.
so that's why Black Lives Matter prison chapter came about, because I want to lace these dudes up in here in these prisons. So when they start getting out, because like I say, in these maximum security prisons out here in California, we don't do no blood. Everybody, you got bloods. Everybody blood Crip. They from the hoods, but you don't never. Since I've been there, I've been involved in 2 blood and Crip riots, and that was because it was a spontaneous act, and it just popped off. But it was nothing that was planned.
Right.
Nothing. 2 of them in the 30 years that I've been, 33 years I've been down. Well, I've been in prison for about 32 and a half years. I have never seen it happen.
Right.
And like I said, I've been involved in them too, and it just happened over some spontaneous stuff. But other than that, if we're not riding on each other in here, why is we riding on the streets like that?
Right.
What's wrong with us? Out here in California, I don't know if y'all been seeing on the news, a couple of rappers then got killed out here. And the thing is, why is we continue to kill each other? What is that about? They done put a progressive DA in the office out here in Los Angeles, California. Guess what he's doing? A lot of the DAs, his own DAs, is so mad at him that they done filed a lawsuit on his DA for being progressive. Because he said, look, I don't want to see a lot of people of color getting these way out sentences. I want to start. I'm making to where there's no more trial as adults. None of that, because the law is only one-sided. And the DAs that work with him, they went and filed a lawsuit on him and said, you're crazy.
Right.
And this man, and the cold thing is they've been trying to recall this dude because he's progressive, meaning that he's not with the mass incarceration. He's not with none of that stuff that the system been designed to do. He's not with that. So they've been trying to do a recall on him because he's not with that. But here's the backlash on that. A lot of our people are doing a bunch of stupid stuff out there. You see it on the media a lot. Even if all you see is dudes doing a bunch of stupid stuff, and what they doing, they looking at DA saying, see, we told you. You trying to do all this progressive stuff and it don't work. They done got word that you're not going to be trying people as adults. They done got word that you're not going to be filing cases on certain type of things. And look what they doing. They running like animals because you with this lawlessness. And it hurts. It's painful. Everything I be seeing.
Right.
But I need a breath. Hold on, because they let people out. I need to find out where everything out. Y'all do. I'll be right back in like about 30 seconds.
Okay. Yeah. Miss Racheal.
Yes, sir.
So talk to me. Out in Canada, how was the system out there? I know this is like everywhere. I know this is happening everywhere pretty much. But what is your fight that you have going on out there? And what are some of the things that you're doing over here like to help Jay out with his particular case?
So one of the biggest challenges that we have in Canada
Right.
is that as everybody thinks Canada is this amazing, everything's great here. For me, I almost feel the opposite. Because when we look at the states, at least they're very outright about the shit that they do. They don't hide.
Right.
In Canada, everything's very discreet. It's very subtle. And so at face value, when we look at specific cases, when we look at people's circumstances, at face value, it looks like, oh, everything's great and working the way it's supposed to. But when you look at issues and you see how deeply rooted the racism is within this country and the way Black and Indigenous inmates, or prisoners, I should say, are treated here, it's literally is shocking for so many, the deaths that are happening here. And like Jojo's saying here, in terms of institutions, Canada has a lot more racism, especially when you start to look at provinces like, for example, Quebec, which is a primarily white French-speaking province.
Right.
And the racism that the Black prisoners are going through over there, that is so widespread, but it's not spoken about, right? And that's one of the things is the judicial process one in itself, because we know that it's deeply rooted in systemic racism. And the one thing that I always tell everybody when they say that the system's broken is the system isn't broken, right? The system's doing exactly what it was designed to do. We live in a country that was founded by white founding forefathers, right? It wasn't founded by anybody else. And so the same shit that they were doing back then when they were marginalizing the indigenous folks and the people that were living here at that time, those same laws and rules is what's just started to evolve to what we see the judicial system being now. So the same way
Right.
pressing and getting control then and monopolizing then is the same shit that they're doing now. And so as much as everybody says it's broken, I'm like, no, it's not broken. It's doing exactly what it's designed to do, right? It keeps us down so that they can stay in control at all times. And so when we look at the Canadian judicial system and we look at cases similar where we have individuals who are innocent but have to fight to get their appeals and consistently be going back and forth within the court system. When we look at the process when it comes to involuntary transfers, right now I have a bunch of guys that are in so the way our system works is we've got a provincial and we've got a federal prison, right? So the provincial prison is basically, I guess what you would say, like county, essentially, in terms of you're either waiting for trial, so you're in and or you've gotten a sentence that's 2 years less a day, so anything less than 2 years.
Right.
And you've got federal, which is anything more than 2 years. And so whenever you get a federal sentence, you first go to an institution called Joyceville, which is like an assessment unit. So you spend a couple months there, and they're assessing your risk. They're doing a risk assessment, right? So in terms of like your security, threat levels, things along those lines. And then from there, they decide if you're going to go to if you're going to go to minimum, medium, or maximum. And then they ship you to your mother institution. And it's crazy because over the last few weeks, I've been getting consistent calls from guys that are in Joyceville who have received their designation of being a medium inmate, but they're now being shipped out of province. And they're not just being shipped out of province, out of Ontario, they're being shipped to the other side of the country. Right? And so when we call that an involuntary transfer, because obviously they can't say anything about it. It's not something that they've been given a choice in the matter of. And then when we look at the underlying issues, okay, so you're going to get shipped to the other side of the country. Your family can't come see you anymore because either they're going to pay, they can either pay for a flight ticket that's about $400 or $500 to fly to see you, or they're going to have to drive 10 plus hours to come see you. You don't have community support because you're not from that community. So who's really advocating? How much support are you getting from that side, from those provinces? And then how does that help you from a rehabilitation standpoint? Because now you've removed all of your primary supports. You're not getting rehabilitation anymore. You're not getting what we would call like your PFVs or conjugal visits. You're not getting family visits. You're not getting any of that. So the way the system works in terms of like it's supposed to be a rehabilitation process, but there's no rehabilitation. It's doing the complete opposite. When we look in like 2007, we had our Prime Minister Stephen Harper brought in all of these laws where all of the mandatory prison sentences got raised, and he pulled a lot of the programming from prisons. And so now there's little to any mental health programs within the prison system here. There's no culturally relevant programs here either. There's nothing for these individuals to rehabilitate. So when I have calling me to do certain programs and they got someone who doesn't look like you and I, somebody who's a white individual who's lived a completely different lifestyle, can't relate, has gone to school, has no idea about what it is that these individuals have gone through, and is now trying to teach them how to different, be able to do that if they can't relate. Right. And so that's sort of where we've come in terms of trying to provide that culturally relevant program, trying to provide the means for them to really understand and to be able to relate with people who've gone through what they've gone through, who've been able to overcome those barriers, and kind of go forward from there. But I mean, in terms of the system, regardless of if you're in Canada or if you're in the States, it's completely messed up as it is, because it's not meant to work for us. It's meant to control us, right? And so that's why, as they said, you've got to first completely break it down and abolish it, and then you build your foundation and build up from there. Because otherwise, if we were to start just kind of reforming and building our foundation from here, the foundation at the bottom ain't shit. It's rocky, right? It's already been broken. Right, so now it's completely breaking everything down and starting over brand new.
1,000. So Jay, tell me a little bit about No Comrades Left Behind.
Well, No Comrades Left Behind. That's basically, see, with the Black Lives Matter prison chapter, I'm trying to get it in all the countries around the world.
Right.
This is just basically the schooling grounds for us to get prepared for those to get when we get to the streets. Or those that's not even getting to the streets, they can educate their family or their friends on how to build a movement. We need more than one Racheal. We need more than one Melina Abdullah, or whoever the people, that's the people we need more than one Monique. We need more than one Glow. We need a lot. We need a mass amount of people. I'm talking about now, we need men to start being a part of this movement now. So, like I say, they don't have to be the voice, but they can be the presence. So they can see, like, look, we're serious about this.
Right.
We are really serious about change, and we're going to take the change. Since y'all don't want to give it to us, now it's time to take the change. And when we change it, it's going to work for you as well.
Right.
But we're going to show you guys. I be tripping like when Obama was the president over here, he said his forefathers, our forefathers. Them were not our forefathers that wrote that stuff.
Right.
Because if them were our forefathers, we probably wouldn't even be in this type of conversations every single day for decades, for over 200-300 years. We've been in this same type of conversation. Because them were not our forefathers that wrote that. They wrote that for the people that their children, to make sure that their children will be protected for the remainder of human existence.
Right.
We need to change the game, and we need to do it now. I'm glad that we got the meeting of the minds together. People that are tuned in. This is time. Y'all looking at a man that's been in here for 33 years since I was 16 years old. I ain't gave up. Like she was saying, there's dudes that been in solitary confinement for 3 months and they tapped out.
Right. Yep.
But I'm not using them and saying, they filed for. No, the thing is, this is not normal. Being trapped in a cage. This is not normal. We were not born in cages, so this is an abnormal thing, and we got to figure out ways. How do I survive in an abnormal environment? You know what? Sometimes you got to adapt to the abnormality and become a part of that, just so you can survive mentally. I had to do things in prison that I know I would have never did on the streets, but that was part of the survival.
Right.
Because we're in an abnormal environment. So what we got to do, we got to tear this all stuff down and rebuild over.
Damn right.
And I'm going to be a part of it.
Damn right.
Like I said, if I die today, the word is out there, and the word is going to continue to manifest because it's out there now.
Damn right.
They shut me down for a decade. They tried to break me. They just sent dudes at me to try to knock me down, but you can't knock down a real one.
Say that again.
You feel me?
That's right.
You cannot knock down a real one. They done tried to knock me down a few times. They never did false accusation because my people ain't gonna believe because he too solid. We know he been sitting there on a murder he didn't even do. So we know you can't put no false accusations on him.
Right.
You feel me? So they know they could never do that throughout the years, but they'll find other ways to tweak it because we need him out the way. Because what he's going to start doing, he's going to start building. And, you know, once you start building high enough, you can jump over that gate. Sometimes you can just step over the gate because you built it high enough. But when we're not building, we're constantly in that gutter, stuck in that gutter. It's time to get up out that gutter.
Big five.
And that's what I'm here for. That's what all of us are here for. To keep building. They're building that structure because we're building on a solid foundation this time. We're not building on a shaky foundation like they did.
Right.
It's shaky because it only worked for one person. It don't work for everybody. That's why it's shaky.
Not real.
It's time for us to destroy and rebuild. And I'm going to be part of that process. Like I said, if I die today, the word is out there and it's going to continue to manifest. So I'm not scared of these people. And they know I'm not scared of these people. They come up in here today, they get the phone, I'm not tripping, I'm going to buy another one. And they know that.
Heck yeah.
Because my bag is right too. They know that. I'm not scared of these people. But I'm going to continue to fight for the people so my nieces, my nephews, and whoever else come behind me, hopefully they don't end up in this situation, or the little kids that knew of me, that they don't have to come in no situation like this.
Right.
We need to rebuild the world. The world needs healing. The world is wounded right now. Not California, not America, not Canada. The world is wounded right now, and we need to find a cure for it.
Yeah.
Y'all feel me?
I feel.
I only have a few minutes. Strangely, I have another interview right after this.
Right.
I don't even know if I had it.
Yeah, I know you said an
And it's
hour,
with my
man.
Canadian comrades too.
I know you said an hour, man, and you know I definitely had to bring you on the platform. We're definitely gonna do this again, so this ain't gonna be the last one that we do, you know, because we got a lot of work to do. You keeping me busy too, so
Yeah,
you know.
on that documentary working on. Hey, I'm trying to get Racheal involved in the documentary.
Right.
Godson Buried Alive. It's gonna be real.
Yeah, man. You know.
And we already got the music. We working on about 2 more songs.
Right.
And it's a real
Actually,
thing.
it's just one more. We just got to get one more done, and that's a wrap, you know. So.
Yeah, Racheal, I'm gonna stay in contact, and like I say, I'm trying to recruit you, so it won't be no mystery what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Because the people that we need on our team, we need people who's serious about this. We don't need people to get on the team when they see a celebrity or something that's on the team. And all of a sudden they want to get on the team because they're trying to get close to that celebrity.
Right.
We don't want to we don't need them. We need people on the team that was there when it was nobody but us.
Facts.
Them are the ones that you know that's really putting in the work because they really trust and believe in what they're doing. So when they write history, we're going to be on the right side of history. We're not going to be on the wrong side of history.
Right.
Y'all feel me?
If everybody could right now that is watching, I need everybody to do hashtag Free Jay Burton right now. I need to see those coming up in the comments right now. Everybody that's involved. And while we doing that, I am going to take a picture of us because that's the thing that everybody doing now. So let's go ahead. Everybody get ready for the picture.
My
Get
God.
that right. Racheal, I'm coming for you, Racheal. You going to be on the team.
All right, y'all.
I'm going to recruit Canada. I'm going to recruit Africa. I'm going to recruit Asia. I'm going to recruit everywhere around this world. And it's going to be a movement that like no other.
And salute.
We need this, y'all.
Salute to Joseph P. Landon right now, too. But y'all ready for this picture?
Joseph,
y'all ready?
I got to let Joseph know I'm going to another interview within a couple of minutes. And Joseph, I don't know because they took a lot out of me on this, so I might need your help on this.
All right. Let's get the picture real quick. Let's get the picture. Ready?
Yeah, we ready.
1, 2, 3, and boom.
Got him.
All right. Hold on.
Salute
One more time.
Hopefully we can do this. Okay.
All right.
Amazing. Thanks for having me, sharing the space with me as always, Jay. It's a pleasure. And I thank you again for having me. It's an honor. Thank you.
Glad to have you
I
on,
thank
sis,
you. I
for
thank
real.
you. For real. I honestly thank you for even showing up. You know, I know you got a lot of things going on in your life, and it's really a pleasure to have you here with us. And thank you. Hopefully we could do this again. But let my boy know, Richard know, at Keep Six, I love him to death, but we're gonna recruit one of his.
10-4.
Y'all have a good one.
All right, y'all be
All right,
safe, be
salute to you.
easy. Hey, look, everybody, hashtag free Jay Burton read now on the comments. Let's go.
For real. It's good.
All right.
Salute, bro.
All right.
All right, peace.
So I want to thank
Peace to both of
everybody.
y'all.
Thank everybody for joining. Big salute to everybody that came through. Y'all already know this is 24/7 Hip Hop Radio, the independent music movement show. If you haven't done it already, make sure that you follow. We follow back. Be ready for our next interview, which will be next Tuesday. We'll have VHE Chino come through representing. I think we're going to start bringing all our interviews over on this side of the street to the gram. I love y'all on the gram. This is what we do. Make sure you follow. I follow back. Make sure y'all holler at me. And if you want to get on my other interviews that's on Facebook, make sure you go to the Independent Music Movement, hashtag 1T1M. I am there. That's where all the music and stuff go down. But big salute to everybody. Thank you. Y'all continue being great. Y'all stay determined.